Hi everyone, welcome to MOE's Facebook Live session, Insights into a World Beyond School. My name is Dei and I'll be your host for today. Today's chat is part of our engagement series, A World Beyond School, which we talk about how parents, educators and students can understand how the future of work looks like and also how we can support our children to thrive in the world beyond school. In your comments from our previous sessions, many of you have mentioned how resilience and adaptability are our top relevant competencies that you have highlighted that our students need in this world beyond school. You have also talked about how softer skills like communication and also the willingness to upskill and reskill have resonated with a lot of you. So in today's session, which is also our last session of the year, we are going to go deeper into three things. Number one, how our strengths and interests can shape our career choices. Number two, which transferable skills do employers look out for in any role? And number three, what resilience might look like in the world beyond school. Before we go any further, I would like to remind viewers to, number one, feel free to ask questions related to the topic. Secondly, also be respectful to everyone, both the panel and the viewers. And lastly, please do share your own tips and experiences in the comment box so we can have an exchange of views among everyone. Let's turn to our panel tonight. With us here today, we have Derek, Trisha, and Serene. Can you all please introduce yourselves? Maybe we'll start with Serene first.
Hi, my name is Serene. I'm a youth coach and also a mother of two teenage sons.
Hi everyone, my name is Trisha. I work on the public policy team at LinkedIn, and I was also a steering committee member at Mentoring SG, which is a ground-up national initiative to promote a mentoring culture in Singapore.
Hi everyone, I'm Derek. I'm one of the co-founders at the Credify and also the Chief Technology Officer.
Thank you, panelists, for your quick introduction. And to find out more about your education and career journey, we are going to do a simple activity here where you will pick a question by random and answer a question. So would anyone like to start first? Okay, Derek.
Go Derek.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Favorite subject in school?
Any schools, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
School of Life also can, okay.
Because I don't have any favorite subjects in primary and secondary school because I hated going to school back then. But in university, there was this course that I really liked. It was called Computer as an Analysis Tool, I think, or short for CAT. Basically, you would have to perform some financial modeling and also I can't remember exactly, but we would have to write some programming code using Excel. So I thought that was quite exciting, and also because I was grouped with a couple of other people who I thought were very like-minded in terms of their attitude, and also we had very complementary skills. So we were able to work together really well and delivered something really good at the end of our project. So that was one subject that I really liked in school, in university. Yeah.
Thanks, Derek. Trisha?
Alrighty, so hope I get an easy one. That was not that easy.
Yeah.
If you could have any job in the world, what would it be? Okay. I like to think I have a great job already, but if I could have any job in the world, I think I would like to leverage a lot of my skills and interests. I would love to run a non-profit one day. And so I think I hope it's a job that I can one day do. But what has been a common thread throughout my career has been this desire and want to make an impact on the world. So I studied public policy. I ended up working as a journalist in my first job, and my second job as a research analyst working on policy issues. My current job, I work in a tech company, but really working on the public policy team. Rather than mostly in advocacy roles, I'd love to one day run a nonprofit and make real impact to an individual's lives. That's me.
Thanks, Trisha. And Serene.
Okay, my turn. Oops, there's two here.
Oh.
Choose the easier one.
We can't really see what's easier in this. Okay, see, it's not even opening. All right. What was your dream job when you were a child? Okay, I've always wanted glamour. I wanted to be in the limelight, and I always wanted, it was a toss between being an actress and being an air stewardess. So I thought the air stewardess were very cool, posh, pretty. And then I realized, I'm not going to be able to make it because I'm a little short. And then, of course, acting was something that I guess we are all, in a way, acting our roles and everything. So that became, and I realized that actors and actresses, we have to do a lot to make ourselves look good. So yeah, so that was my dream job as I was growing up as a child.
Thanks for sharing. I think we all have different paths. Personally, growing up, I've always dreamt of becoming a journalist, and I did my first internship, and that shattered all of my dreams. And then today, now I'm a teacher working in a course that I'm passionate about. So I think through our various learning experiences, we all have picked up different skills, and we have explored our interests as well. But I think times are really changing, right? Even among all of us, we have all navigated different landscapes. What more for our children today? So today, they are really navigating a landscape that's constantly changing and shifting. So how do we best equip them to look at what the world is like beyond school? And that is what we want to find out today. And at this point, I would like to encourage all of our viewers to ask questions in the comments section below, and we will field them to our panelists as much as possible. And we will also look at how they can give you some responses that you might find useful by the end of today. So while we were all doing our self-introduction, we have actually asked our viewers a poll, okay? And our poll question is, and we have some very interesting results here. The poll results are a little bit split among the top 3 options, and the option that most of you have chosen is actually critical and adaptive thinking, very closely followed by confident communication and teamwork. And I think it's quite surprising to me also to see that technological literacy actually came out as the least selected option as well. Trisha, what do you think, as someone who works in LinkedIn and as someone who has seen how skills have changed, what do you think of the poll results?
Very surprising as well that technological literacy is only 4%, and I wonder if everybody's just scared of AI and everything that we talk about and they just don't want to touch it anymore. But I think what I would say is that what we're calling transferable skills or soft skills or people skills are just always in demand. You can talk about the latest in-demand skills. Maybe you want to become a programmer, you want to become a software engineer, or whatever it is today. What we hear when we speak to employers, what we hear from employers, especially on the LinkedIn platform, is that people skills, transferable skills, soft skills are always in demand. So however these stack up, I think all of them are very relevant in the world of work and will continue to be relevant in the future of work.
Thanks for sharing that, Trisha. And I'm very interested to hear what Derek thinks as an entrepreneur who has gone through a journey yourself through different skills, right? Have you picked up these skills along the way? Do you find any of them more important than the others?
I would think that communication, or rather I thought communication would be one of the key competencies or transferable skill to have. Throughout my journey as an entrepreneur, while your technical skills and competencies are important, a lot of times we see people also lacking in your soft skills, people who are not able to convince, communicate or negotiate well, people who are not able to be adaptive to the different situations and scenarios that calls for it. So I think perhaps for the youths and parents out there, one of the things you should perhaps also focus on top of continuous learning for your technical skills is also to reinforce this mindset to not ignore the importance of soft skills.
Thanks for sharing that, Derek. I think it's really a balance as well, and I think also depends on where you are. I think it's how you apply them as well. So we have some questions that are rolling in, and to start us off, we'll ask the first question, okay, to all of our panelists.
So I've gone through quite a bit of career change from being in media to being a full-time coach. So one of the things that I realized that's really important is the adaptive, skill sets that we need to have. The world is ever changing. So one of the things that we definitely need to do is we need to adapt and make ourselves relevant. So having this ability to stop, reevaluate what we are doing, asking important questions like, is this what we are doing? Is it helpful? Is it relevant? That would enable us to actually make ourselves, marketable, right. Or something that you can always use and acquire over time. And this works even as a parent, even as a student, and even if you're working out there, your career.
Thanks, Irene. Trisha?
If I reflect back on my career journey and if I think about skills, values, competencies, I think it's my curiosity and I know we're going to talk about resilience as well, but it's this never say die type of attitude that has got me through life and continues to help me progress throughout my career. So if I think back to, we were just talking just before this conversation as well about how at every stage of the next stage in my schooling career, for example, I just never got what I wanted. I didn't get the right secondary school that I wanted, for example. Just missed a few points. Didn't get the right JC, missed a few points. Didn't get to the university course that I wanted. But then I think throughout that, you build resilience with every setback. I don't call it failure. At that point, it feels like a failure, but it's really a setback. And when we reflect back on our career journey, what we see is that your career journey is never linear. Right? You never get to a stage where you get your first internship and then you rise up to your first promotion and you become a manager and you become a director, VP, and then you run the company. It's, unless you're Derek, of course. But you know, it's never that linear, and I think I've sort of learned that throughout my career journey, and we can talk about it a little bit more as well. But for me, I graduated from university during the height of the global financial crisis in 2007, 2008. And within 6 months of getting my first job, I lost my job. I was retrenched. And that felt like the biggest setback at that time. I remember crying for days. I remember locking myself up in my room, not knowing what to do. But what I did do at that point in my life is I reached out to mentors. I sought advice and guidance from former bosses and other senior leaders that I knew from my small network at that point. And at that point, they advised me to go back to school, and it's the best decision I made. I took my career on a different trajectory altogether.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Tricia. And Derek?
For myself, I think one of the most important attitude that I keep is this optimism that I have in everything. So I remember my co-founder told me this once. I can't remember what the context was, but he said something like, we have to shift our mindset from thinking about like, I have to do this, to yes, I have the opportunity to do this. Because once you start shifting your mindset, you start to become more proactive and more energetic into solving these problems. And I guess that will eventually lead to you becoming a more resilient person also. But how it links back to my optimism is, I think naturally, I'm just a naturally optimistic person. So in a way, that makes me more resilient to things because I tend to see obligations as opportunities, or I tend to see problems as things that I can potentially solve. So whatever hits me, I always find a way to like think of it as like, oh, this is a good thing. I can do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing all of that with us, for all panelists, because I think you have found adaptability and resilience in your own way as well. And I think you have very interesting journeys, which I hope you can share more later as well. But first, we'll take a few questions that we have received. I think first is a comment from Renee Holm and Jennifer.
I agree. In the sense that so let me bring you back to the topic of resilience, right? Since we're all talking about soft skills here, adaptability and resilience, I don't think resilience is something that you train for. It's not something that you go to a class and you pick up a lesson. I think resilience is a byproduct of failures. So the good news is that we are not perfect people, so we will always bound to make mistakes and face a lot of points in life where we would fail. And it's really how we pick up these skills, this resilience and adaptability, is how we react to what happens when we fail and when we make mistakes. And I think it is a lifelong process. It is a continual thing that you do.
I wonder if we can also reframe what you just said. It's not a failure. Mm-hmm. It's a setback. And I feel like sometimes the words we use have an impact then on how we react to the situation. So it's just a setback, and there'll be many setbacks that we have in life. So when I think back of my life as well, getting retrenched at the age of 23 was a setback. It was not a failure. I did not do anything that, and I think reframing that also helps build that resilience and toughens us up to being the optimistic person that you are as well.
If it helps you,
Yeah, I think that's very important as well, because I think sometimes when it happens to us, when it happens to our children, they immediately see it as failure, right? But this is when it's very important for parents, mentors to come in to reframe the situation, that this is really a setback, and look for the opportunities instead of the doors that are being closed. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times if you look at that particular setback, you would think that it is a failure at that point in time. For example, when I graduated from primary 6, my PSLE score was 174, which people would think was failure. But if you look at the big picture, right, that 174 is actually just a very, very minor setback throughout my entire life. In fact, I don't think it set me back in anything at all. So yeah, framing your mindset.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. We have another question that's come in. This question is for Tricia from Roel Cal.
If I had the answer to that question and the magic bulk answer, I think we would all be very successful today, being able to predict the future. The good news is that nobody can predict the future, so whatever I say today, you cannot fault me. But what I would say is, so what we know from data that we're seeing on LinkedIn is that skills needed for jobs are changing very rapidly, even if you're not changing jobs. So we've been looking at data since 2015. So between 2015 and now, skills needed for jobs in Singapore have changed by 36%, even if you haven't changed a job. The global average is 25%. So skills needed for jobs in Singapore are changing more rapidly than the global average. So instead of thinking about what are the future skills your child needs today, because that's always going to be changing, how can we think about looking at your child's abilities from a skills-first lens? So think about the skills they need, and these skills then can be relevant then to your current job, it can be relevant to the future job. So I'll give an example. So what we saw during the pandemic when we were looking at data from LinkedIn is that there was a lot of demand for customer service officers. And then what we also saw is that there were a lot of people with the baristas, servers, waitresses who had really relevant skills but were out of a job. And when we did some analysis, when we broke it down from a skills-first lens, we found that there was a very big overlap between these two groups of workers and their roles and jobs. And so when we break it down to a skills-first approach to any way that we look at a career opportunity or job opportunity, that the world opens up so much more. So that's what I would suggest, instead of thinking about what is that one skill that I need my child to have for him or her to succeed in life. Look at it from a skills-first lens and build all of the soft skills, the resilience that we're talking about today.
Thanks, Tricia. Skills first lens. We learned something new today. Okay, we have another question that's also to all of our panelists from Lim Chong Hoon.
Okay, so when I look at my career, one of the things that I definitely wish that I could have worked on more was not focusing on just myself alone, but rather seeking help. So sometimes maybe it's an Asian culture. We tend to keep things to ourselves. We tend to look at things on our own perspective. But when you start talking to others about what you're encountering, what you're facing, creating a network. So one of the things that I've learned was actually your network is your net worth. So who you know, how you actually use the networking skills, how do you actually try and find answers from within your group, that actually helps you, it shortens that little timeline for you to search for the answer, for you to either pivot, for you to make a decision. So that's one thing that I would feel that I would have worked a lot better if I had known this 20 years ago. One of the other things that I feel that looking back at the many hiccups in my career and even in my life journey, I realized that the times when I realized I've a lot of growth, the time when I changed and evolved and grown, it's the time when I actually face obstacles. It's the time when I actually face challenges. And that's what I realized, it's a soft skill that we need to look at challenge. I agree with Derek and Tricia, we need to look at challenge head on and go, what am I going to get out of this? How can I make myself stronger? And I don't want us to think of getting over challenges, but going through it so that we can learn and grow.
Yeah. Thanks, Serene.
Now, I'll build on Serene's point around networks and how that's very important to supporting us at every stage of our career journey. And I think back to some of the work that I've done as a mentor, and then also with Mentoring SG. And Serene, I know when we were growing up, maybe this idea of a mentor or a network and getting advice and support from somebody who has possibly done it before us was a bit challenging when we were growing up. But I'm so proud to say that today in Singapore, we've got more resources, we've got support. So when Mentoring SG started in 2021, as I think I said before, a ground-up initiative to really promote a mentoring culture in Singapore. The team went around and had a look at what were some of the challenges for youth. So what we found was some of the challenges was around wayfinding, like youth did not know the kinds of resources that they could seek out in order to get that type of support. So today there's mentoring.sg, which is a great resource. If you're looking for, it could be career mentorship, it could be career development focus, but it could also be personal development focus. So it could be around finding your interests, your skills. It may not be about how can I get the right job. And I think building your network and seeking out advice is so much more important today. We're seeing it on LinkedIn as well as from a data perspective. I was just looking at data today, but what we found is in Singapore, you're 5 times more likely to get a job within 1 year of graduation if you know somebody at that company. So we need to encourage our young people to build their network. Sometimes it can sound very daunting, but I'm so happy that today there's so much more resources available.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Tricia. Derek?
So for myself, I think one of the things I regret the most was that back in university, I spent the first 2 years of my life, my school life, chasing grades. And I felt like I lost out a lot of time during that 2 years. And I did that under the pressure of a scholarship. So unfortunately, I couldn't make the cut for the scholarship. So it got downgraded, but it's a setback, but not a huge setback. But when looking back at it on hindsight, one thing I really wanted to do was to just go to school and enjoy university life and make friends and network. And I thought that may really have helped me in my career. I think one of the things I constantly am reminded of is also you may be the best at your field, but if you're hiding away at home, no one is going to notice you, no one is going to know who you are, and you're not putting yourself in a position where doors can be opened for you. So building on both of their points, I think building a network, being able to communicate, speak in public, or even negotiate or convince people, those are very, very important skills, even outside of work.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, because I think that's so important, right? Like networking is not as reductive as it sounds, because along with networking, you have a lot of soft skills that need to be built. And this also includes having the mindset from about learning from others, right? The mindset of knowing that you are not alone as well, yeah, in this. So I think it's very good to know that you have support systems around you.
Okay, so for me, before I gave up my media job, I was a director at a data analytic media company. Before I gave that up, my passion has always been coaching, and my passion has always been helping people realize their potential. So for me, it took a lot of convincing to get my husband to agree to me leaving my job. So one of the things was I actually found courses that I could take. So I did my NLP, Neuro-Linguistics Programming, studying how the brain and mind works. I also did the ICF, International Coaching Federation courses. So I was doing that while still working in media, and I was also learning more. So what actually helped me a lot when I talked about, building network and everything, was I actually found a mentor and I found my role model. So I found somebody who was good at coaching, and I mirrored myself against that person. So, but of course that took quite a bit of being thick-skinned, a bit of stalking online too, finding out who and what the person does, learning more about the person, and even attending the courses. So that actually helped me to find out more about what coaching really entails, what being, what helping other people will actually look like. And what I found helped me to be even more determined, for me to even go through my Neuro-Linguistics Programming Masters and to get all the certification before I can start up my coaching company. Yeah.
So for Derek, it's about,
okay.
yeah.
I feel like I need a little bit more context before I can answer the question properly, because I'm not sure what are you talking about in terms of diving into a new area. Is it something you even like, or you're diving into it because there are other benefits, like it pays a lot, or it is a well in demand skills? So I'm not so sure about that, so it's quite hard to answer you without the necessary context. But as a general rule of thumb, I think that you should try something for at least 3 months to decide whether you like it or not. And that is from speaking from some of my experiences, where I start off something realizing that I hate it, I don't like it at all, I don't know why I'm doing this. But 3 months later, I realized I can't live without it. Like, oh, this is so fun, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's a very easy tip that we can all use. And with that, Derek, we also have another question that's posed towards you by Jojo HY.
So I always wish I'm immortal so I can live forever, because I also, same as Jojo, wish I have a lot of interests, and I realize that I don't have a lot of time to fulfill all of them. But to answer that question, how to choose which university course to major in when you have so many interests and options you want to consider, honestly, it's a very, very hard question. But what you can potentially do is to do a cost-benefit analysis also. So if you have so many interests, perhaps you might want to draw a table, and then on some of your rows, you might want to list down like what are the benefits if you do this, and what are the pros and cons, and then give each of them a value, and perhaps at the end of it, just look at the sum value of each choice and see which one has the highest number. So that is again just a guide that can help you based on data, but I think ultimately just go with your gut feeling. I mean, that is what I would have done. A guide is just a guide.
I think that works, and I would like to draw on what Serene mentioned just now about her own journey as well, on how she spoke to people who were also mentoring as well. I think it's also very important to understand what that course or that job might entail, right? Because sometimes what you have is that idea of that course or that job. But when you speak to people who are actually in it, you get a clearer perspective on both the pros and the cons as well, and decide whether it is really for you. Because I have many students who want to be doctors, lawyers, or influencers, but it might not be because they have a clear picture of what being an influencer might entail as well. Yeah, so that's something for us to think about. And I think with that, thank you panelists for sharing about the different transferable skills that we've talked about. And I think this is very important for us to understand the kind of landscape that our children are in now. And I think this segues nicely to our next segment, where we want to talk about how we can equip parents with skills to support our children in the future of work. And a couple of weeks ago, I saw this article that I was struck by. So I'm not sure if you have read this article, but in the Today Youth Survey 2023, 74% of the respondents actually mentioned that they do think that it's possible that they will get retrenched at least once in their lifetime. I think there are two things to think about here. Number one, the phenomenon that they could possibly get retrenched once in their lifetime, and number two, the mindset that they can get retrenched at least once in their lifetime. So with reference to the phenomenon and the mindset that 74% of the respondents hold, I'm wondering whether the panelists have any thoughts on that.
I can, go for it, go.
I think one strategic approach to manage this, right, is to think of it this way. We know that bad times don't last, but good times don't last as well. So referencing one of the companies, is it Victorinox? You might know them for the Swiss-made army knives. So back then, everyone had a Swiss army knife that were given as a corporate gift, as a birthday gift. But overnight, after 9/11, they lost 40% of their business. But how they were able to make it out of that was, like I said, they knew that good times don't last, neither do bad times. So during their good times, they save up a lot of money, and that money firstly helped them to tide over the difficult period. And secondly, they were also very adaptable in the sense that they made use of their Swiss-made branding and expanded into more product categories like watches, fragrances, household, travel gear. So I think the retrenchment, whether it comes or not, I would say not to worry about it so much as long as we are adaptable and we are constantly reskilling and upskilling ourselves. And of course, always be prepared for rainy days.
Yeah, I mean, so I have been retrenched. It happened in my first job, or my first real job rather, because I had jobs throughout school. But so I think we see such a high percentage in the recent poll because it is something that's happening so frequently now, right? Every other time you open the newspapers, we see these headlines, and we are in difficult times. But if I can draw back to my experience when I lost my job at a very young age, it is difficult when it happens, but it is not going to be the end of the world. Building on Derek's point, it is about then all the other resources we're talking about today. Can I break down my skills? Can I think about where I can apply my skills? Can I reach out to my network? Can I seek a mentor? Can I go about looking at this as an opportunity as opposed to I'm doomed for failure kind of a mindset, right? So let's look at this as an opportunity. And if I think back at the time when I was retrenched at the age of 23, I'm so happy it happened because I was just like, I mean, I was a journalist at that point, and it maybe if I hadn't experienced that at that age, I might still be a journalist. But instead, what happened was I went back to school, I built new networks, I studied again, I opened my mind to a new realm of possibilities when it comes to my career. And I pivoted like 3 times since. So I look back at that time today and going, oh, I'm so glad it happened. It was terrible when it did, but I'm so glad it did because there are opportunities that come after.
Right. Thanks, Trisha. Serene?
Okay, I was retrenched twice. So the first was in a print company. So with that, I started looking at what are my skills. So basically, as a person who's really good at math, I realized that studying numbers and everything can be applied everywhere. I still love media a lot. So looking at the impressions, how we do ratings and everything else, I started pivoting and I started looking at how media is affected throughout. So not only print, but also TV and internet. And that was where, the internet started coming in and nobody knew how to read the numbers and stuff. So when you are willing to change the perspective of how you view numbers, even in the same category, that's how you learn. My second retrenchment was over at a startup company. So it was a media startup company, and wow, that was a really steep learning curve. And I realized that if I want to start anything at all, the most important thing we definitely need money, right? So we definitely need to have the right funds. We need to look at our investors and what they actually stand for. So some investors can just invest and, they just pull out investment really quickly. So that's what I learned, that if we really want to do something, we need to be a little bit more strategic. We need to start thinking about how it's going to look like a few years down the road, and then from then on, just make do with what you want. But through it all, I've learned a lot, and I've grown so much stronger.
Thanks for sharing such honest stories about your retrenchments as well. And I think that also links to a poll question that we have asked our viewers. So from the poll results, we noticed that most people have found difficulty in developing social-emotional intelligence and also growth mindset. So what do the panelists think?
I think it's just difficult to develop these competencies because as a good Singaporean, we want to learn it in a book. We want somebody to teach it to us. But many of these competencies you learn through life. Through different projects maybe you have in school, through our experiences outside of life, and we all talk about the competencies that we built because of the different opportunities, setbacks that we've faced in life. So I think it's difficult to think about how to break it down, but if you continue to have an open mind, continue to have the curiosity to learn, ask for feedback, seek out mentors, you will inadvertently be building those skills.
Thanks, Tricia, for sharing that. I'm also wondering with growth mindset, right? Because for Derek, we all understand that you have quite an interesting journey so far in your education time. And how has growth mindset mattered to you during that journey?
So my education journey was, so basically throughout secondary school I was doing quite badly because I was very interested in technology back then, so I started programming from a really young age at about 12 years old. But the byproduct of that is that I neglect all my studies. So I go to school just for the sake of going to the school. I would rush back home and start programming or start drawing things on Photoshop or whatever tools they had back then. But for me personally, I guess I was fortunate in the sense that I always knew what I wanted from a very, very young age, and I knew that in the realm of IT, it is so wide, there's so many things I can do, and I kind of want to just try all of them, and I really enjoy doing it. So to me, I had no issues in the sense that I knew exactly where I wanted to go. The path to get there doesn't matter. I wanted to get there as fast as I could, which is why I kind of made the choice that I did. And that choice was when I was in secondary 4, I had to do my N-levels, and only for my N-levels I did really, really well. I think I got like 4 A's and a B, so I did well enough to go on to O-levels. But I didn't want to do that because we didn't have direct poly admission back then. So in order for me to start doing IT, right, I would have to do Sec 5 O-levels, then poly year 1, so I have to wait another year. But from Sec 4, if I go directly to higher NITEC, I can do it now. So that was like, okay, then I want to do it directly now. And on hindsight, it makes a lot of sense because when I went to ITE, I had an additional year of technical experience. I had more opportunities to do my internship. So for me, it was really just about how can I keep growing in this arena, in this space that helped me get to, I guess, where I am today.
I think that's very interesting because sometimes it's also about looking at what matters for your own growth and not what is maybe commonly established as the easier path or the right path for everyone to go. Yeah, and with that, I think there's also a comment from Pauline Yong. I think Pauline Yong mentions that it's important to have a growth mindset for our children and for us as parents too. Growing and developing the ability to adapt to the ever-changing world, grow, learn, and improve. I think it's really very heartening to see viewers sharing also your heartfelt wisdom with us in the comment section. And with that also follows another question for Serene from Louise Lu.
I see this as a two-pronged aspect. So the first thing is it's a lot easier to grow a child or youth's self-confidence if you let them do something that they're really good at. So if you develop their strengths, their interests, and they see themselves excelling in it, that is what will give them the motivation to do even better. The other thing which I feel, and I've done this for my own children as well as the people that I'm coaching, it's to actually let them try something that's super difficult. And that'll be a benchmark. So when I do something that is totally out of my comfort zone and I achieve some form of, level of skill sets I get, that gives you even more motivation to actually continue doing it. And actually that's the base, right? So if you're doing something really, really out of your comfort zone and you did this, how much better you're going to do it if you get better at it. And then that will give you a chance to say that, whether you want to pivot, whether you want to learn doing something that's really difficult and excelling. So that is actually what I feel would help a youth build their self-confidence.
Yeah. That's very interesting, to be okay with being uncomfortable.
Yes, and it's actually quite interesting because when we allow ourselves to meet challenges and obstacles, that's when you actually grow the most. Yeah,
thanks for sharing that, Serene. And I think with that, we also have a few questions that we'll take together to Tricia and Derek. One is from Hui Jin.
Okay.
How?
Maybe I can try to answer this from my parents' perspective, right? Since I do not have kids of my own. I think I was only able to find my passion through accidental discoveries. So what happened was, I guess I was about 6 years old. I was fortunate enough to have a computer at home because my dad was working as a 3D modeler back then. So he had this company, huge PC at home, but he still went out to work. So one day when he left me alone at home, I went to the toolbox, I took out the screwdriver and I started unscrewing the entire computer. And it was very expensive, and my mom was like, what are we going to do? Like, we can't afford to pay for this. But I don't remember what I said to her, but the moral of the story was, before my dad got back, I got the PC up and running. So I think two things could have happened there. My dad found out. He could have screamed at me, locked me out of the room forever, and don't give me any access to the computer, and I think I wouldn't be in tech today. But the other option he took was, he saw my curiosity for the computer. He started teaching me how to draw yellow rubber ducks using 3D modeling software. He started introducing me to websites like Neopets and Battle On, which were very popular Flash games back in the days. So it was through all this that I was like, okay, I can start playing games, and then I got so curious, like, it doesn't make sense. How come I can, if I click the right button, the character moves to the right, and if I click X, it slashes the monster with a sword. I was like, how does this make sense? It doesn't make sense to me at all. So it was from then on that I got so curious that I kept researching why is it like this, and then I got more and more curious into game development, and that was how I actually got into tech and IT. So to me, I still think I was very fortunate because of that accidental discovery, but what was more important was the action that my dad took when he found out. Because if I were to reflect, and if he did the complete opposite, then I think my path would have been very different. I would be scared to go near a computer, in fact, right? Yeah, so maybe to help answer this question about how to motivate your child, or what to do if your child do not have any aspirations, it's really, I think, to just put them in places where they can accidentally discover what are their passions or dreams. So that can mean bringing them out every day, bringing them to different places, try different things, just try everything that they like. Not force them, I mean, like, let them try. Yeah. But again, I'm not a parent, so listen to their advice is better.
Thanks for sharing that, Derek, because I think just now we talked about a lot of the attitudes that our children can have, but sometimes as parents, the attitudes that we have in response to their actions are so important in framing what they think can be pursued or not, right? Trisha, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think as a 14-year-old, if I'm thinking about career directions, I hope if I had a 14-year-old, I hope that she or he does not have a career direction right now. I don't know. I know I did not know what I wanted to do well into my teenage years, and then probably into university. And there's a whole period of self-discovery that I think what Derek is talking about. So when I have mentored young people, I think not too long ago I was mentoring a 16-year-old who was not sure what she wanted to do in school, whether she wanted to go to university and what kind of course she would want to take. And I think what we started with was, so there's an Ikigai framework, right? Which is, that's just 4 principles of what I like to do, what I'm good at, what the world needs, and what's going to pay me. What can I earn money with? So before we get to that, what's going to pay me, what kind of job should I do, how about we start with, what do I like doing? What am I naturally good at? And we explore that, and you keep exploring, like, ask them questions. It can't be that they don't like doing anything. They must like doing something. It might just be maybe they want to be an influencer. I'm sorry. That you do pick up some of your students and some of their aspirations, and that's an aspiration too, and that would change over time. So I think as a parent, maybe having those conversations and helping them explore whatever it is they're interested in, just start with what they're naturally good at and what they naturally just like to do. And with that, career aspirations will come.
Is that the Ikigai?
Ikigai,
right? Okay.
I think what is it? It means a reason for life, for being,
it's
or something
a
like
framework to be happy, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, and I really like that.
It ties in together the happiness wheel. What exactly are you looking for? Yeah. Do you actually want money? Do you actually want experience? Do you want, to fulfill a particular kind of dream? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think all of that's very important because, I mean, regardless of the framework, it's about understanding what you value as well. And then, like what Tricia mentioned, understanding yourself. What are your inclinations, right? What naturally makes you happy, or what are you naturally good at as well? Yeah. And with that, we will take another question. This question where Tess Gamboa.
So this thing about job shadowing I thought was quite interesting. When I was about 16 years old, so I already started programming for about 4 years, and I was very cocky, thinking that I'm very good at web development. So what I did back then was I emailed one of the flea market organizer in Singapore. So flea markets used to be quite popular. I'm not sure whether they still are popular, but back during the days it was very, very popular, and there was this particular organizer who is very renowned, well known for in the space for organizing these flea markets. So I reached out to him. I saw his website. I reached out to him, and then I was, hey, your website is not so good. I can help you do it for free. You don't have to pay me, but you just let me shadow you, because I was very interested in entrepreneurship back then, and I wanted to learn how he, as a very young individual, when I was 16, I think he was about 20, he was already running such large-scale flea markets. So that was, in fact, how I learned. I job shadow without salary, and I guess barter trading. Like, I offer my skills in terms in exchange for being able to shadow you and learn from you. And today, I know that there are some programs that does that. In fact, I have some mentees through the IMDA mentor-mentee programs that will eventually come to my workplace to shadow me for a day or two, just to see what it is like in the company and what I do in my day-to-day responsibilities. So I know there are definitely programs out there that you can potentially want to look at.
Yeah, maybe I could share. For my son's school, so my younger son, he's actually doing his O-levels now. So one of the things is in the school, at Sec 3, they approach parents. Okay, so parents of school to us if our company is actually looking for anybody to job shadow. And we start as early as Sec 3. So the students need to apply. They need to sell themselves for this opportunity. You know, they need to tell why the company has to choose them for this job shadowing. And they do a little job shadowing. It's not called internship because I don't think they got paid. But they got experience of what it feels like and what it is like being in a law firm. What does it feels like to be in a research company, in a pharmaceutical company? They learned what skills that they needed. And it was during that time when, and the school's quite good because they actually came out with a set of criteria, a form for them to fill on what did they really learn. And with that, the students, after their 6 weeks program, they came back to school to share with the rest of the cohort what that was and what that looked like in that company. So I feel that there are opportunities out there, even as young as Sec 3, which is 14, 15 years old. But the main thing that we would definitely need to do is we definitely need to teach our youth not to be shy about what they can do. Of course, not oversell themselves, but they be as authentic, as real, and as genuine when looking out for opportunities like that. And that actually leads to that second role about, writing job resume. Yeah, right? So we need to be authentic, we need to be real because you can fake, you can get ChatGPT to write your resume, but does it represent you? So that's one thing that I feel that we definitely could tap on the school. And for those who do not have the opportunity from schools, for the parents, I think we also need to change our mindset to start listening to what our children really want to do. And like what Derek said, create the opportunities, give them that support that they need. So if they are, even if it's as crazy as being a bubble tea seller or opening your own fashion company or something like that, create the opportunities for them to learn more and for them to get more information about it.
So just to add on, right, there are actually a lot of Singapore founders that I know would be very open to allowing people to do job shadowing. And if your skin is just a little bit thick when email people, I think 90% of the time people will not reject you. In fact, when they see your heartfelt email, they might, oh, okay, it's just a day, let you shadow. They might just do it. I don't think I think a lot of people are really kind and would want to help, especially for this kind of situations.
Okay, and I was just maybe building on that, and also
Yeah.
the question on resume writing,
Yeah.
and just merging that together. Absolutely so important to have those career skills. Like, how do you communicate your skills on your resume, but then also interviewing skills, etc. Those are absolutely important. But then beyond just your resume, which is something you keep, think about how you can communicate your professional brand online. And that's what we advocate a lot for on a platform like LinkedIn, where you can have all your skills, your experiences, your volunteer experiences, your internship, all of that's there. And then when you reach out to somebody saying, hi, can I shadow you for a day? They can also see your interests, your experiences, your resilience, your tenacity, and they're more open to also having that conversation. There are a lot of resources out there. If I talk about LinkedIn specifically, there are courses on how you can write your LinkedIn profile. That's for free. So if you look it up, like tips on writing your LinkedIn profile, it comes up as a LinkedIn learning course. So
You just need to have thicker skin.
People say yes. You'd be surprised. Exactly.
Yeah. Just try, right?
Yeah. So don't wait for the opportunities, make the opportunity.
I think this links very well to our next question by Freddie O. So Freddie O asks two questions, right? And this is to Serene.
Okay, very interesting and relevant questions. So what's the cracks that we need to repair in ourselves? I think the most important thing is we should never carry our own baggage as a child when growing up and impose it on our own children. So one of the things is we cannot let our child live out our dreams. We cannot expect our children to fulfill whatever we did not do in the past. The other bit is and it ties in to the next thing. It's if we have an open communication with our children, there won't be ever an opportunity or time when they won't come to us. And when we have that broken communication and that relationship, we will then have lost them as somebody that we can talk to. So when we don't really talk to our children, don't really listen to what they say, that's when that disconnect would have. And that's when everything is die. So if we want to have a never say die attitude, we definitely need to show that we ourselves are resilient, we are willing to listen to them, and that whatever they throw at us, they're not going to be diminished or anything to being a failure, but whatever happens, they are still our children and they are still our son and daughters. The next bit is what can we do as a role of a parent, right? So this day and age, you are first and foremost a parent. So throw away the thing about being their best friend, throw away the thing about being anything. They can have best friends everywhere. But as parents, we will definitely need to be there for them as a mom, as a dad. So if mom and dad to them, that's actually one thing very interesting. And that was, I actually asked my children, what do you view mommy as? What do you actually want mommy to be to you? Maybe you can ask your child that question. You'll be very surprised. So my son was like, sometimes you need to be there, but yet you need to not be there. So what he was trying to say is that you have to be there to lead me out of any problems I'm in, but can you not be there by nagging at me? Can you not be there by giving me advice? I don't need your advice. I just want you to be a mom, to listen to the problems that I have. So whether you call that safety net, yes, that's what we need to do. To my younger son, he wanted me to be his cheerleader. So when he was competing in competitions and everything as a child, younger boy, he was not that mobile. So I had to be with him. I had to bring him for competitions. That was what a role as a mommy would be. So that I feel it's something that we all have to change, and this is very different for every child that you have. So I have two sons, and being a mom to two of them is very different. So I urge all parents, maybe this holiday is a very good time to start listening to our children, to start understanding what they exactly want out from you as a father or mother.
Thanks for that honest sharing, Serene. We have one more question that we're going to take, okay, and this question is for Derek.
This is a It's a very difficult question to answer. Um, without discipline, there is no structure, is it? No structure to work with, and most are clueless at finding their passion. But why does it have to be either or? I think in your role as an adult or a parent, I assume it's not to. I guess firstly, yes, having some form of discipline around their life can potentially help them to form habits. But I hope I'm not taking it the wrong way, where like you're disciplining the child because they cannot find their passion. Then I think that one is a problem lah. But apart from that, I think if you have some form of discipline just to help them, I think most importantly the role as an adult or parent is to guide them and to put them in places where they can find that passion, just like my dad did for me. Again, I'm not the best to advise in terms of what may potentially help youth, so I can only speak from my own experiences by thinking of how my dad or my parent did things for me. And it was really just giving me opportunities to grow and to explore on my own. And I guess if I were to bring a little bit of link to the previous question, whether a role as a parent is to be a compass or a safety net, right? I would also think it's neither. Sorry, but personally, I think that if your role is a safety net, then what happens when you're gone? And if your role is a compass, then what does the child gets lost if something happens to you? So I think the role is really to help the child be their own compass and safety net. So they should be independent on their own, and they should be able to do very well and survive without you also. But that is my take as a non-parent.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Ray. I think that's such good wisdom, right? Because it is the journey that our children go through as well. And then at different stages, we do play different roles for our children. And with that, we also like to highlight some of the nuggets of wisdom that we have received from our viewers. And to the rest of our viewers, please feel free to also comment your nugget of wisdom as well. So from Elinor Anwar says that accidental discoveries is an important experience for everyone, like it is true for all of our panelists today. And also another comment from Daryl Kong. Daryl Kong mentions that as adults, we are thinking and talking about what kids would need. It would be very interesting to hear what the kids themselves say. We might be surprised. So if you're a kid who's watching, please comment, and please also go and ask. Talked, like what Serene has mentioned, communication is very key in understanding both ourselves and our children. And time flies, we're nearing the end of our session. It has been very fruitful, but may I get our panelists to share a short word of encouragement to our viewers before we end? Maybe Serene first?
Okay, so one of the things is I'd like to encourage all of us as parents to just enjoy our children, enjoy them for where they are and who they are right now. Learn to appreciate their gifts and talents, and also don't be shy to share whatever challenges they have to. Just like one of our questions came in, you'll be surprised when you start sharing deeply from what you're actually going through now. Yeah.
I'll take from Steve Jobs and his Stanford commencement speech, where he encouraged everybody in the audience to always stay hungry and stay foolish. And I really like that because it embodies and encompasses what we
But today, on hindsight, when I look at it, I know what he meant now, and that is like what I mentioned earlier. With each failure or setbacks, is a chance for you to grow from it. It's a chance for you to react and how you build your resilience and your adaptability from then on. So yes, all the best.
Thank you, panelists, for your encouragement, and we hope that viewers, you have gained a better understanding of the transferable skills in the future of work and the tips and strategies that parents can take away to equip and support their children in their journey. So the type of support that every child needs is different, and as parents, we hope that all of us should also manage our expectations along the way, and it is also through regular and genuine communication with our children, then we can find out what they truly need as well. And while the world may continually change, we're always shifting and everything is changing, may our children understand that it is our love for them that's unconditional and constant. And with that, thank you everyone for tuning in. Please look out for more in our engagement series, A World Beyond School. This could be via MOE YouTube, A World Beyond School playlist, and also via our parenting Instagram. And in the comment section, we have also pasted links to websites on education developments that you can check out. And also on our screen, we have now a QR code that you can scan to fill up a feedback form to let us know what you'd like to hear from us, any feedback that you have, or even encouragements that you have for our panelists as well. And with that, we have come to a close tonight. Thank you, panelists, for your time, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Good night.